Live.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Tonight's lesson will be on the Durar Al-Bahiyyah في المسائل الفقهية. From the last chapters in Kitab al-Talaq are Bab al-Rida' and Bab al-Hidana or al-Hadana. Al-Rida' or al-Hidana. Things are connected and related to divorce. One of the two has a greater connection and a stronger relation than the other, but they definitely, neither of the two are definite issues of divorce. As far as al-Rida', then it means breastfeeding, suckling. And in the English translation, it says fosterage. Fosterage. And as far as al-Hidana or al-Hadana, then it means custody or guardianship. Or in simple, basic layman terms, who's the child going to stay with after we're divorced? We had a baby together, but we're no longer together. We can't agree. We can't live with each other. I hate you. You hate me. You're the most wretched person I ever met in my life. Right? But we still have a what? Or children together. Right? There's no good in you. There's no good in me, etc. What happens after marriage? Things become sour, right? People become spiteful, become vengeful, etc. Right? So regardless of the fact that whether we can live together or not, whether I'm a good Muslim, whether, but we have what? Abdurrahman. And there's little Fatima, correct? And there's little such and such and such and such. So where do they go? Who takes care of them? So on and so forth. Everybody clear on this? So those are the two chapters that we're going to discuss tonight. Bidnai ta'ala, al-Rida' and al-Hidana. Khairan inshallah. As far as the first one, al-Rida', the author rahimahullah, he says, إنما يثبت حكمه بخمس رضعات مع تيقن وجود اللبن وكون الرضيع قبل الفطام ويحرم به ما يحرم من النسب أو بالنسب ويقبل قول المضيعة ويجوز إرضاع الكبير ولو كان ذا لحية لتجويز النظر. Once more, for those who are reading in Arabic, those who are following, those who are listening to the proper qira'ah of the matan, which is obviously the first step of memorizing the matan, is learning how to say it correctly. And when you learn how to read it properly, whether you learn a specific matan or whether you learn the general rules and principles of good, proper reading, you now have the ability to make hifdh when and wherever you want. Once you've learned how to read properly, you have a good amount of practice and the correct way of the vowels, the words, where this letter comes from, so on and so forth, then you can make hifdh whenever and wherever you want. You don't have to sit in front of a sheikh to make hifdh of a matan, to make hifdh of poetry, abiyat shi'riyah, to make hifdh of the Quran, to make hifdh of ahadith. So the first step, the most important step is proper reading. Proper reading. And that is the thing that should be focused on the most with regards to a teacher and a student, is teaching you how to do it what? By yourself. Teaching you how to do it properly by yourself. As far as if you aren't trained in reading correctly, then you may read 75% and 25% of it may be an error. And that's a problem. You memorize it and you can't fix it. You can't change it. You can't pass it on to someone else. You teach it to someone else. You mention in a class or a khutbah, and it's mistake upon mistake upon mistake. So reading first correctly, properly, slowly, then bidnai ta'ala, once you can do that, then you have the skill of doing it whenever and wherever you want to. And of course, if you have the ability to be in a camp or a class or a university or to someone's tutelage in the masjid, and you can read to someone every day, even though you know Arabic, but you still want to taqra ala shaykhik, that's fine and that's better. But that isn't always the case in the modern world today. Let alone the fact your own personal ijtihad, which is just as important as you sitting with a scholar or a teacher or graduating from a university. Once more, your own personal ijtihad. Don't think that every single thing that I've learned I got from Medina University. That's not true. Every single fa'idah or this book or this athar or this hadith or this kada I got from Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abad in the Prophet's Masjid. Don't think that. Rather, you as a student of knowledge have to have your own personal hard work. So these are the classes that I go to. This is the school that I'm enrolled in. This is my dirasa, nizamiyya, my formal study, PhD, bachelor's, whatever level. None of that suffices you from your own what? Personal ijtihad, what you've memorized by yourself. I didn't have to memorize it for a class. What you read and studied and researched for yourself. The munaqashat, the debates that you have among your colleagues, nothing to do with school. Everyone understand this? And the rule is, brothers and sisters, is that the bigger the scholar, the greater the teacher, the less personal time you're going to get. Don't ever forget that and think that. Don't ever think that you're going to get personal tutelage by the biggest, greatest scholar of Mecca or Medina or Yemen, wherever you study. Rather, the greater the scholar is, the what? The less personal time that you get. You get time with the sheikh in the general class, and the general halaqat. You may visit his house, but the chances of you being the only one there are what? Everyone understand this? And that's why in Medina, whenever we visited certain mashayikh, and we were the only ones there, we jumped for joy. We said alhamdulillah, because we knew it was a rare catch to catch Sheikh Abdul Muslim by himself, and you be the one to walk him across the street from his house to the masjid. Sheikh can barely see. Everyone understand this? For you to be the one holding his hand, that was a rare opportunity. And when you got the opportunity, you took advantage of it. Or any other mashayikh as well, any other scholars, not just him, whoever the scholar is. Or an ustad, a teacher at the Islamic University. You catch him walking down the hallway by himself, without a crowd of students, without other teachers. You take advantage of that. But that's not the case every day. So the point I'm trying to get across, the nasiha that I'm giving, is that nothing suffices with your own personal study. You learn the rules from the teacher. You know the how, the technique, the books, the sources. Then you must what? Apply it yourself. Everyone understand this? And when there's something which is problematic or you don't understand or you want to double check, then you go back to your sheikh. And of course, the true teacher is going to value you more if you bring him knowledge and information. And it doesn't mean that you have a full cup. There's a difference. You bring the hadith, yeah, sheikh, I read this hadith, so on and so forth. Is this correct? Have I understood it properly? Hafiz bin Hajar said this. Can you point me to another source? That full cup is a good full cup, because it shows that you actually study. And you're bringing dignity and honor to the culture of ilm and talab. Are we understand this? Not as, oh, sheikh, I heard this, I know this, sheikh Fulan said that, and what do you think? Big difference now. Okay? So, hifd, memorizing, reading, researching, debating, writing, all of those things you should have an experience with them on a personal level, and not just what your teacher forces you or instructs you to do. Well, they have that. So if you're studying Bulugh al-Maram with the teacher, you yourself on the side should be reading the Sharh of Umdat al-Ahkam. If you're studying Umdat al-Ahkam with a teacher, you should be listening to the Sharh of Bulugh al-Maram. If you're studying Bukhari, you should be reading by yourself what? Sahih Muslim. Hakadha. You always do your own personal what? Studies on the side. And of course, all of these different aspects and angles will complement each what? Each other. That's why you have a medley, a blend of fruit. Pineapple goes perfectly with the what? With the strawberries, or no, that's strawberries and grapes. Let's say that. Pineapples and mangoes. Kiwi with the what? Honeydew. Look at that. A medley of fruits. And it all what? Blends together perfectly. Everyone understand this? This acid cancels out that what? Look at that. Right. Everyone understand this? Allah be witness that I've what? Given sincere advice with regards to how to get in and not just hoard it. The secrets and the tips to myself. Allahumma ashhad. The Prophet ﷺ says, did I convey the message of Allah? So no one say that what? We just have to listen to you and study with you. And you're calling us to just what? Listen to you. I'm teaching you how to do it what? Yourselves. Inshallah ta'ala. Tayyib. So the author, rahimahullah, he says once more, باب الرضاع إنما يثبت حكمه بخمس رضعات مع تيقن وجود اللبن وكون الرضيع قبل الفطام ويحرم به ما يحرم بالنسب ويقبل قول المرضعة ويجوز إرضاع الكبير ولو كان ذا لحية لتجويز النظر. Says here in English, it will have a legal effect when the suckling takes place 5 times from a woman we are sure has milk in her breast, while the baby sucked the breast before he is weaned. When it takes effect, it prohibits what is prohibited under lineage. In the case of a controversy, the word of the foster mother takes precedence. It is also permissible to give an adult the breast milk, even if he were to have beards, says here in English, in order to make it permissible for him to look at the woman. Now, obviously, we have different levels of comprehension in English, just like in Arabic. Somebody may get everything from this sentence or this paragraph. Some may only get a half or a third. And some of us may be what? Totally lost. What is being said through the words, the concepts, the style of English, etc. Right? So, and another key of studying is to increase your comprehension. You have to grow your fahm just like you have to grow your muscles. You got to work out. The foods that you eat, the protein, the gym, the regimen. You got to build your biceps. And the same applies to your understanding, your comprehension. The more books you read, the more diverse selection of books you read, the more difficult books you read, the further you go from your comfort zone. This all does what? Helps you to what? You grow your brain power. And you have the ability to analyze and tackle things faster. Everyone understand this? And to retain more information. So it's very important. Memory is one thing, and understanding is what? Is another. And the more explanations that you get, and the more sharh that you come across, the easier it becomes to what? To get it. So let's break this down now. He says here in Arabic, Bab al-Rida', the chapter of Rida', breastfeeding, suckling, or fosterage. Why is this a chapter in this fiqh book? Why is it included in Kitab al-Talaq? And that is because, is it possible for a woman to be divorced while she's breastfeeding? Yes, it is. A woman can be divorced while she's pregnant. She gives birth to the child. The iddah is over. She's still feeding the baby. Everyone understand this? Or she could be pregnant, or she could be divorced after she gave birth. And she's in the 3 menstrual cycle period. And she's what? Breastfeeding the baby. Everybody clear on this? Also, who the baby will be allowed to inherit from, look at, be secluded with, who becomes a mahram for the child. That's included in rida'. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact that rida' is a part of life. It's a part of life. For years, people have given their children the milk from their mothers. And if it's a part of life, if it can happen, if it did happen, if it does happen, let alone if it's a major integral part of life, then of course there has to be a set of what? Rules in Islam. And that's because Islam is a complete way of life. Everything that can happen, listen carefully, anything which is possible for a human to go through, it's going to be mentioned what? In Islam. A little bit, a lot, one verse, surah, but it's going to be what? You're going to have something, a general principle. And if it's something which is very common, step number two, it's going to be mentioned more often in Islam. Number 3, if it's a what? A major part of life, then of course it's going to have what? Good mention of it in the Quran and in the Hadith. And breastfeeding is a major part of life. Everyone understand this? With regards to a baby being fed, a baby being nourished, and all of you strong, handsome brothers sitting in front of me at one point in time were what? Little, small, tiny babies. And perhaps most of you were breastfed by your mothers. You wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for what? Breast milk. Everyone understand this? Most, not all. Some may be fed from Similac babies, etc. But a lot of people still do what? The natural way. Everyone understand this? And of course, the benefits of breastfeeding, the milk of the mother, the relationship with the mother, etc. That's a long discussion in itself. And the sunnah for women to breastfeed their children. And some hadiths that mention a punishment for women who refuse to what? Breastfeed their children. Very interesting thing that I came across once. Of course, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, one of the narrations which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ went on a dream, and he was taken to a mountain. All right, the angels they said, intalik, take him, and he saw different people being punished for different reasons. And one place or one party saw women being punished for, the hadith says, allati yamna'na awladahunna min albanihinna, aw kama qala. It was said to him that these are the women that prevent their children from their milk. And is mentioning they were being punished. They were being punished. You'll find in other religions as well, this is something which is vividly mentioned. A woman who refuses to breastfeed her children is a specific punishment for her in the hellfire. I'm not going to mention a specific type of punishment which was mentioned in a hadith, and you can also find similar Christian sources. It's a very interesting parallel. What's important is the sunnah of breastfeeding, the punishment of preventing a child from the breast milk, right? And the concept of fashion, the concept of movies, the industry, media, and the concept of the set standard of beauty and what beauty is supposed to be, and what happens to a woman's body after she gives birth and after she breastfeeds. And some of the things mentioned in paradise, what happens to a woman's body when she breastfeeds, and the sacrifice that a woman makes for the child. There's another reason why a mother is supposed to be so respected in Islam. Her body is not going to be the same after she gives birth, after she breastfeeds for 2 years, then a second baby, and a third baby, and a fourth, and a fifth. Everyone understand this? A man can have 10 children, 20 children, 30 children, 50 around the world, and you may not even ever what? Be able to altered. Everyone understand this? So what women go through with regards to children is different than what men go through. It's a difference. It is one of the reasons why a woman's or the mother's haqq is so what? Is so great. And some things that men can never ever compare to with regards to what a woman has to go through when she gives birth, when she's pregnant, when she's sick, weaning a child. Anyone who has children has been married, you know the fitna of what? Weaning a child off of breast milk is a struggle. It's a fight. All right? And the child has to suffer. And the list, feeding the child, changing the child's diaper, and the list goes on, right? And there's this concept also proves why it only makes sense in Islam for a man to practice polygyny, whatever you want to say, to have more than one wife. And a woman is not made to have more than one husband. Her body is not made the same as a man's body is made. Everyone understand this? And that's because when she becomes pregnant, when she breastfeeds, let alone her mind, she loses a child, a miscarriage, she goes through so many things that a man doesn't necessarily what? Go through. So if a woman is pregnant with one man's baby, the haqq of the other husband, what happens now? He says, come, I want to be intimate with you tonight. She says, I can't, I'm sick. My stomach is too big. I'm having pains. I'm breastfeeding. Her two husbands, they say, well, your body doesn't look the same anymore. After you start breastfeeding Abdurrahman's child, now your breasts are like this. I'm not interested in you anymore. Everyone understand this? A woman is not made to have what? Multiple husbands. Physically, it just isn't the same as a man having what? Multiple wives. There's a difference. How Allah created the male and how Allah created the what? The female. Everyone understand this? Okay, moving forward. So he says here, إِنَّمَا يَثْبُتُ حُكْمُهُ. The first and most important principle is, how are the rulings of al-rida'a established? How do we know that a person cannot get married to another person? That this man can look at this woman without her khimar on? That this boy inherits from this family? كَيْفَ يَثْبُتُ حُكْمَ الرِّضَاءِ. How are the ahkam, the rulings what? Established. First one, he says, بِخَمْسِ رَضَعَاتٍ. 5 rada'at. And the rada'at is a plural of rada'ah. Says here in the footnotes, وَالرَّضْعَةُ هي أن يأخذ الصبي الثدي فيمتص منه ثم يستمر على ذلك حتى يتركه باختياره لغير عارض. الرضعة, and you may say, well, this is easy. Breastfeeding is breastfeeding. Not necessarily in Islam. How many times does the child drink? When does the child drink? How does the child drink? The mother offers the child the milk. The child puts, there are technicalities involved. All right? There are what? There are technicalities. So 5 times the child must drink. But if we establish 5 times, what is what? 1 time. He says here that the child is to grab the breast. And the child is to drink, to feed, to suck on the breast. And then the child is to continue to take the milk until the child itself pulls away or pushes the mother's breast away. Once the child does this, and there isn't an emergency or something frightening, a reason, a woman has to get up, she has to walk away, answer a phone call, another child is being hurt, something, right? She's being attacked, something that happens that breaks up the feeding. The child takes it himself or herself, and the child what? Once the child does this once, then that is a rad'a wahida. So the child has to do this what? 5 times. So, why is this even important, one may say? A woman is breastfeeding the child, right? And like I said, she has other children. Abdurrahman fell and slipped, and he's crying. She does what? She puts down Fatima and runs to Abdurrahman. That doesn't count as a what? Rad'a. The child did not suffice him or herself. Fatima didn't suffice herself with the what? With the mother's milk. So it's not 1 time. Everyone understand this? Or the mother forces the child to milk, to take the milk. It's not, according to this, it's not the what? It's not rad'a. So if it happened 50 times, it wouldn't be what? Wouldn't count. And the rulings of the rida would not tathbut. La tathbutu. The rulings, the ahkam would not be established. Number 2, ma tayaquni wujud al-laban. We have to be sure that there is milk. In other words, and this is very common among many women, they have children and they don't produce breast milk. That's why they have wet nurses. Women take things, pills, drinks, herbs, teas to produce more milk. Correct? So therefore, the woman, she gave birth, is her child, but there's no milk. She has no milk. The child is supposedly or seemingly feeding and suckling, but it's no what? There's no milk. Also, it doesn't what? It doesn't count. Once, 5, 10, 15 times, it does not what? Does not count. So, there is Fatima and there is Abdullah. They both shared 1 woman's milk, supposedly. We saw this woman breastfeeding Fatima, and we saw this woman breastfeeding Abdullah. Fatima and Abdullah, they grow up later on. They want to get married. The old sister, she comes, she says, no, you can't get married. I remember when your aunt or fulana or this woman breastfed both of you. And the woman, she comes along and she says, I never had any milk. It's not what? The ruling doesn't what? Doesn't count. Abdullah and Fatima can get married because it didn't count. There was no milk. Everyone understand this? Number 3. It says, مع كون الرضيع قبل الفطام. And it must be within the period before weaning. In other words, if the baby is weaned off of the breast milk 4, 5, 6, and it feeds, it doesn't what? It doesn't count. You with me? It doesn't count. The child has been weaned off of the breast milk. Child may still drink it, or is given in a cup, whatever the case may be. It doesn't what? It doesn't count. It has to be qabl al-fitam. So on average, the child that's 2 years old, 2.5, is getting weaned off of the milk. So if a 3-year-old baby, Abdullah is 3. He's eating table food now, Gerber, right? He eats baby food. And Fatima is 1.5. Fatima hasn't been weaned yet. Abdullah has been weaned. Fatima drinks from the sister. Abdullah drinks from the sister. When they grow up, Fatima and Abdullah can still get married. Because Abdullah only took the milk when? Ba'd al-fitam. He took the milk after he was weaned. فَمَا ثَبَتَ حُكْمُهُ. أنت معي? The ruling was never what? Established. Once more. For our type. The basic rule for the principles, for the rules that take effect has to be what? We said what? خمس رضعات. 5. That's the general principle. Done. Finished. The shurut of these 5 are an yakun, on yakun. The conditions of the 5 sucklings to count has to be that it is that it is that, and that it is that. فهمت? You got it or not? So let's go back to the beginning of the metin. He says, إِنَّمَا يَثْبُتُ حُكْمُهُ بِخَمْسِ رَضَعَاتٍ. 5 times. We defined what 1 time is. Number 2, مع تيقن وجودي. You have to make sure that the woman had, this is a condition of the rad'ah. If the woman had no milk in her breasts and the child supposedly suckled, it wouldn't be no benefit. Everyone understand this? Or, comma, if the child was 3, it was weaned. Just because a child is weaned off of breast milk doesn't mean that the child won't take more milk. But the child is eating table food, he's weaned. The child doesn't have to sleep right next to the mother, so on and so it's weaned. It's done. So Abdullah is 3. And let's say, for example, one night he slept in the bed with his mother, right? And then Fatima is only 1.5. Fatima is still feeding. Abdullah is not feeding anymore. So Abdullah, Fatima, and Abdullah all slept in the same bed tonight, right? Everyone understand this or not? So obviously Abdullah, she still has what? Breast milk. Abdullah, she woke up and he was what? He was feeding. He was drinking the milk. There was milk on his chin and on his face and on the bed on the side of Abdullah. Clear on this or not? Obviously, Abdullah and Fatima, if they're brothers and sisters from lineage, it's not a problem. But let's say, for example, Abdullah is not related to Fatima. Abdullah is her cousin or Fatima's cousin or whatever the case may be, if the example is bad. Al-Muhim, a distant relative or a friend that you're watching their child. They came over and they slept in a bed. Abdullah is 3.5. He eats table food. He's sleeping, you're sleeping. Abdullah had a dream that he was a baby once more. And he started suckling. Everyone understand this? Fatima and Abdullah, when they grow up, they turn 16, 18, they can now what? Get married. And that's because Abdullah, إِنَّمَا رَضَعَ بَعْدَ الْفِطَامِ, after the period of weaning. So it has to be within the bracket of the weaning, before the weaning. Meaning when the child needs the breast milk. Well, Heather, everybody understand this? Whether that's 2 years or more or less. Well, Heather, moving forward. He says, now we're done, period. Next ruling. Al-Hukm al-Thani. وَيَحْرُمُ بِهِ مَا يَحْرُمُ بِالنَّسَبِ. Anything which is unlawful or lawful, obligatory, haram, disliked, etc., because of lineage and genealogy, is the same for breast milk. Can you marry your blood sister? No. Can you see your blood sister without her kimar? Yes. Do you inherit from each other? Everyone understand this? Can you travel with her? The same applies to Fatima and Abdullah, who shared the same milk. Clear or not? They can't get married when they get older. They are mahrams for each other. He can see her, etc., etc., etc. Whatever the ruling is of genealogy, the ruling is of rada'ah. That's the qaida. Yahrumu, anything unlawful of genealogy is the same impermissibility or unlawfulness of the milk. Wadah? Everybody got this? Moving forward. He says, وَيُقْبَلُ قَوْلُ الْمُرْدِعَةِ. The literal translation is, and the statement or the claim of the murdi'ah, the breastfeeding woman, or the woman who's giving the breast milk, is accepted. And they did a good job, alhamdulillah, in English here, a very good job, by saying, in the case of controversy, the word of the foster mother takes precedence. Very good job. And they didn't put it in parentheses or brackets like other translations, because that's not the actual literal text. It doesn't say that. Fi halat niza, when there's a niza, controversy. Abdullah wants to marry what? Fatima. Abdullah is a great, strong Muslim. Fatima is a beautiful young sister. They want to get married, right? This father, this person, that person says, no, they shared the bed, they shared the milk, they shared. It's niza, it's controversy now. Or they got married. And one comes along and says, Fatima and Abdullah, your marriage is invalid. You can't be with each other anymore. And that's because you guys had the same milk. So the murdi'ah, the woman who was the wet nurse, or whoever, she comes and she says, I didn't have no milk when I breastfed Abdullah. Or Fatima was this age. Or it was only 3 times. Or it was only 4 times. Or it was only 4, whatever. The opinion of the woman is what? Is accepted. Or if they say, we did not share the same breast milk. She says, Abdullah, listen, boy, you were on my lap drinking my milk. And she says to Fatima, what? You were there too. No, old lady, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. You hating because we got married. You're old and shriveled up. You're jealous because you don't have no husband. What? The qadi, he does what? He takes the opinion of the woman. You can't be together. Kayfa wa qad qila, the hadith says. Everyone understand this or not? That's what that ruling means. So they did a good job here in English. Did a very good job. And there's no need to put parentheses or brackets because that's what's meant. If no one argues and differs, then there's no point. It doesn't matter whether the wet nurse agrees or disagrees. Everyone agrees that Fatima and Abdullah, or everyone agrees that they what? Can get married. There's no mushkila. But when there is controversy, then there's the issue of your statement takes precedence. Abdul Qawi's word is taken over Fulan's word. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. He then says, وَيَجُوزُ إِرْضَاعُ الْكَبِيرِ. A man who's old, it is permissible for him to be suckled. وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا لِحْيَةٍ. Even if he has a beard, meaning he's way above the age of puberty. Everyone understand this? He's not 10, 8, 6, 9. He's a grown man. It's permissible for him to take the milk. For what purpose? لِتَجْوِيزِ النَّظَرِ. For him to have the permissibility to see Sister Fulana without her hijab. Especially in the case of a boy that came to you as an orphan. Mathalan, you picked up this little boy off of the street. Let's say you found him on the street. He was totally abandoned. He didn't have a Muslim identity or name or nothing. You raised him as a Muslim. You fed him. You took care of him, so on and so forth. This little boy off the street, he played with your sons, right? He ate your food. You taught him the Islamic culture. Now he's in puberty now. And you have other sisters that he grew up with. Oh, you can't be with them. You can't look at them. You can't sit at the same table anymore. You have to get out of our house. So on and so on and so forth. That's a hardship. Everyone, that's a what? That's a hardship. So according to this, the solution would be the mother would say to the boy whose name is, they named him Adam. Come Adam, take the breast milk. Drink it 5 times. You're now my what? My son. You can see me without hijab on. You can talk to your sisters that you were with from 10, 15 years ago. Everybody understand this? Put yourself in those shoes. That'll be a great hardship now. Now, in the author, he didn't specify the reason behind a grown person given or being given breast milk. Okay? But he only mentioned the wisdom behind it. To be able to see. And this goes to show you is that if there is no relationship of blood, in-law, or of milk, then there is no what? There's no nazar. There's no looking. Everyone understand this? So this goes to show you from one thing we learn what? 10,000 things. That there is no looking at the opposite sex. If there is no what? One of those 3 reasons. Everyone understand this? And if not one of those 3 reasons, then also there's what? Tahrimun nazar. You can't look. Now, does this mean, or do we understand that a woman must cover her face and her hands? One may say this. One may say this. One may say this proves is that the hijab of the woman is the covering of the what? Hands and face. And that's because if her hands and her face aren't covered up, what more does he need to look at and see? Clearness or not? Everyone understand? Well, they have that or not? Everybody got this? So a woman who has on khimar and she wears an overgarment, right? She goes to college, right? Lehman College or York or whatever, wherever you go to college in New York City, right? Who sees her hands in her face? This professor, this police officer, this person, the guy who works in a parking garage, this lesbian girl. Everyone sees her hands in her face. Everybody. Correct? So someone who's her son, her stepson, her foster son, husband, whatever, the only thing that they see more of is her hair, of course. And if she wears regular or normal clothes in the house, whether they're fitting, tight, or whatever. What? Correct? So, the little boy that you picked off of the street, you and your wife raised, he's grown now. He went to college, he went to seek ilm, and he came back. He's grown, he has a beard. All right? He sees your wife, she has her hands out and her face out. She says, hey, Assalamu alaikum, Adam, how's it going? I can't give you a hug, so on and so forth. But at least he can what? He sees his mother's face. Now she has on gloves, full screen. and she says assalamu alaikum, which of the two is more painful? Without a question. There's a huge difference. So the point is that some of these rulings, some of them show you that what's meant by the woman's hijab and nazar, etc., is what? Everything. For you not to be able to see the woman. Meaning you can't see what? Anything. Now we're not here to talk about this ruling in detail, the point I'm trying to get to. Saying that it is or isn't obligatory. I'm just trying to make a point of taking one thing and doing what? And then you have a list of context clues which show you what's the maqsood by that. Everyone understand this? And there lies no doubt. You see a woman's hands, you see her face, you've seen a big part of her. You've seen a big part of her. It's not the same as what? You don't know what she looks like with her gloves and her niqab off. Everyone understand this? So there. We can't just ignore these things, right? Moving forward. It says here in the footnotes, رضاع الكبير مسألة شهيرة الخلاف لكن تنبه إلى أن المصنف لم يطلق الجواز بل قال في السيل بعد بحث متين لما ذكر حديث رضاع سالم من امرأة أبي حذيفة عند مسلم قال والحاصل أنه خاص يوقف على من عرضت له تلك الحاجة واحتاج أن يدخل على امرأته من لا يستغني عن دخوله بيته وتردده في حاجته ومصالحه ومن رده بلا برهان فقد انتصب للرد على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى الشريعة المطهرة ومن قصره على سالب فقد جاء بما لا يعقل ولا يوافق القواعد المقررة في الأصول. انتهى كلامه رحمه الله. The editor here, he says that the issue of a grown man taking breast milk is well known among the ulama to be an issue of khilaf. Well known. So no one jump out of their seats. What do you mean a grown man can take breast milk? Does he take it from the cup? Does he what? Take the woman's breast? What do you mean a grown man can become a mahram? It's well known among the what? The ulama of Islam to be a masala of khilaf. Point number 2. He says, pay attention that the author did not allow it absolutely. He didn't say that it was absolutely 101% permissible to do. And another book, and this goes to show you, once more, brothers and sisters, is that you don't take the statement of a scholar here, which is inexplicit, and ignore the explicit discussion of the issue. Everyone understand this? Well, you said in this lecture, in this one sentence, such and such and such and such. But in another lecture, I gave a whole hour talking about the detail or the opposite. Nobody in his right mind, except a fool, would say, let's take the 30-second clip and ignore the 30-minute clip. Agreed or not? Only a fool would do that. Or someone who has a bad and evil intention. Well, you did say it. The sentence before, did you listen to it? Did you read it? Not important. The sentence after, did you listen to it? Not what? Not important. The whole lecture, not important. The location, who I was talking to, what? They said what? You said it. But in another lecture, for 30 minutes or 3 hours, I gave you my full detailed opinion and view on this issue, or what I believe in, or what's correct or what's not. You say, no, that doesn't matter. You said it. Now we refute you. That's against common sense. And many people have what? Scholars. And those who follow those scholars. We're not just picking on du'ats. Scholars. They think that this is uslub ilmi, and this is fi ghayat al-khutura, extremely dangerous. And of course, the proof that it is incorrect is not the fact that it's common sense, or not the fact that it's just, etc., etc. The proof that it's incorrect is that they don't allow it when you do it to them. That's the dalil. You cut and paste on them, what's the first thing they'll say? Akhi, you're attacking the brother. The brother has explained himself. We all know his aqidah. We all know he's firm upon this. He was only mentioning an example. He made a mistake. He was sleepy. He was tired. They won't accept it when you use it against them. But the opponents, they what? They use it. That's the dalil that you ain't what? You ain't keeping it real. And you're only using a principle against someone because you don't like them. Moving forward. He says in another book, the Muhashi, he says, بعد بحث طويل. Oh, he says matin. He has a strong discussion of this issue. Shawkani, rahimahullah, he says, he mentioned the hadith of Salim, the wife of Abi Hudhayfa. Salim, obviously, there was no blood relation. When Salim grew up, he wanted to see his stepmother Abu Hudayfa's wife. But there was no what? There's no relation there. So the Prophet ﷺ, he what? He allowed something to take place for something to take place. Everyone understand this? Shawkani, he says, 3 ways of looking at this hadith, right? The first way is to say that it is permissible to be done for whoever has a similar situation. Like the little boy that you found on the street, you gave him the name Adam, you raised him as a Muslim, he's now a big, strong man. How can he not sit and have dinner with you, talk with his mother, give his mother a hug, a kiss, so on and so forth, and she raised him from a little boy? But in actuality, there's no what? There's no sabab muharram. There's no reason for them to be mahrams. Everyone understand this? But he's grown now. She gives him the milk. He drinks it 5 times. They're now what? Mahrams. That's one way of looking at it. And that it isn't absolutely permissible. Everyone understand the difference here? All right, so let's make an example. Let's just stick with the concept of a cup. A woman, she gives a grown man some breast milk. Tafaddal. He drinks the breast milk, right? He drinks 5 cups. 5 times, 5 servings, right? Is he now a mahram for this woman? The original rules tell us that he wouldn't be. Why? Based off what we've learned tonight. Why wouldn't he be a mahram? Quick. Based off what I told you. After the fitam. He's 30 years old now. 28 years late. Right? Clear? إِنَّمَا رَضَاعَةُ مِنَ الْمَجَاعَةِ. Suckling is only based off of hunger. Everyone understand this? The man can eat anything else. He doesn't need the milk. Small little baby can't eat the table food. Correct or incorrect? طيب? But at the same time, is it permissible for him to be a mahram for this woman? There's no need that he needs to be. They don't know each other, but a man just says, I want you to be able to sit with my wife, or whatever the case may be. There's no hajjah. There's no what? There's no need. But Adam that you took off the street, there's a what? There's a need. You picked him up when he was 4. Correct or incorrect? He was 4 years old. Now he's 12. He's 13. He's not in puberty yet. He's about to go into puberty. And he goes and he travels to seek ilm or to fight in the lost cause, whatever the case may be. He comes back and he's 18 now. He can't see the woman that raised him. He can't be with his sisters. He can't. There's not a what? A need for Adam to take the milk. In order for Adam and his foster mother, who's like his real mother almost, because he never knew who his parents were, for them to be. Are you with me or not? I don't think everybody's with me. You with me? You with me? You sure? Mu'adh, you with me? But once Adam takes the milk, he's now a what? As if he's the actual son of the woman. He can say, Assalamu alaikum ummi, a hug and a kiss. Clear? The husband is trading. He's traveling somewhere to do business. And the mother wants to go make Hajj or Umrah. Adam can do what? Accompany her alone as a mahram. Everyone understand this? He has 3 other stepsisters that are pretty much like his real sisters. They played in a sand pit together. Everyone understand this? They grew up all together. There's a need for it based off of that hadith. So that's one way. Number 2, he says here, وَمَنْ رَدُّهُ بِلَا بُرْهَانٍ فَقَدْ انْتَصَبَ لِلرَّسُولِ أو فقد انتصب للرد على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى الشريعة المطهرة. He says, and those who say no, there's no time in which it's permissible to give a grown man breast milk, then he has clearly rejected that what? That hadith, which is going to be problematic. Hadith has no benefit of it. And the third way of using a hadith would be what? That it was only for Salim. And he who does that, he takes a hadith and restricts it only to one human for all of the millions of people that will come later on and accept Islam. That can't what? That can't work. What's the purpose of hadith being there if there's what? There's no fa'idah anymore. And how many other people will have the same scenario as Salim? Everybody clear this or not? Who we called who? We gave him a name. His name is what? Adam. That you found on the street, a little dirty, dusty, homeless boy with his clothes tattered. Your heart felt soft. You did what? You picked him up and you brought him home, right? Your wife says, who's this boy in my house? He says, I found him on the street. He was crying. It was raining outside. It was snowing. He was shivering, right? He was hiding, and I wanted to bring him home. And she washes him up. She cleans him, and you take him in as your own child. But he's not what? He's not a mahram in reality until there's a reason behind there being mahram. And that can be done with the breast milk. We got this or not? You sure, Muad? 50? How much? What's the percentage? 75. Alhamdulillah, that's good. 75 is a good what? It's a good percentage. All right, so let me ask you a question. Do you have sisters? Okay. Can I see your sister uncovered? Why not? Why not? I'm a Muslim. She's a Muslim. Why can't we all just get along? What's the problem? It's impermissible. Who makes the rules? Is permissible and impermissible? Me, you, who? Allah. The messenger of Allah, right? Clear or not? So therefore, but can you see your sister uncovered? Why? Isn't she a woman? Aren't you a man like I'm a man? Don't you have desires? And it's a difference. So in Islam, there are reasons behind a man having a mahram. And the word mahram means is that a man cannot marry another woman. They can never ever get married. I.e., in simple terms, there's never ever going to be an issue in which they have the time or the permissibility of being intimate with each other. I'm not related to you. I may see your sister and say, your sister's beautiful. Let me be with your sister. You as the brother, inshallah, it's not going to be like that. Clear? So there's a ruling for us to have that type of relationship in which we can sit, we can talk, we can drink tea together, and you don't have to wear hijab in front of me. That's because it is my sister, my mother, my daughter, my aunt, correct? Or you have a son. Your son gets married. He has a daughter. She grows up. She's now your daughter-in-law. She comes over your house. You can give her a hug. Salaam alaikum. You can sit, you can talk. She doesn't have to cover in front of you. And from the things or the reasons which makes it impermissible for people to be with each other, to be married, is breastfeeding. Even if you're not actually blood related. You clear on this or not? So let's say you have a little son, right? And I have a little son. My wife is breastfeeding my son. Your wife doesn't have any breast milk. She calls my wife on the phone. Assalamu alaikum, sister such and such. I'm having a problem. I don't know. I just can't feed Abdurrahman. Can you help me out? She says what? Sure. So your little son now shares the milk with my son. Now, I have a daughter. And then you have another child, a daughter. Your wife wants more. She can't what? She has no breast milk. She needs your daughter to be fed. She doesn't want to give her bottle milk. Your wife contacts my wife again, and she does what? Shares the breast milk. So I have two sons, you have two daughters. Correct or incorrect? Under normal circumstances, my son will be allowed to marry your... I want you to answer.
No.
They wouldn't be allowed to marry? Why not? Am I related to you?
No, because...
Before that, before the breast milk. I said under normal circumstances.
I'm normal.
Clear. Perfect. So therefore, my son and my daughter, my son is not a mahram for your daughter. He's not a mahram for your mother. He's not a mahram for your sister. He's not a mahram for your grandmother. Clear? But due to the fact that all four children shared one woman's milk, my two sons can never marry your two daughters. So therefore, your daughter will be a mahram for, or my son will be a mahram for, clearness or not. And your daughter, I will be a mahram what? Based off of this theory, hypothetically speaking, the milk came from who? No.
I'm sorry.
The milk, and the origin of the milk comes from where? Comes from the man. Comes from the man. The ulama, they say that the breast milk comes from the man's what? The man impregnating the woman. Clearness or not? Do you understand how it works? So there are reasons for people to be mahrams for each other. And from those reasons, even there is no blood lineage if the two children share the same woman's milk. 5 times before this age, such and such and such and such. Clear on this or not? It's better than 75% or 80. It's going up and down. I tell you, at least he's honest. Everybody with me? Inshallah, you got to keep reading. You got to keep listening. Listen to the class again. Everybody got the point or not? Tayyip? And the last issue is the issue of a grown man who is not related, but there needs to be some type of relationship. The little boy that you and your wife found on the street, you took him in. You and your wife, at the time of you taking the boy off the street, were ignorant of these rulings. You were what? You didn't know. Like many Muslims don't know. And this, FYI, is mentioned in the what? This is in the Quran. The rulings of Rada'ah are mentioned in the Quran, right? Tayyib? Okay, so you and your wife, you didn't know these rulings, right? You took the boy off the street, correct? He was 4 years old when you picked him up, a little orphan. You raised him, you taught him, you sent him to school, sent him to college. He's a great young man, right? He graduates from college, you and your wife, you go, flowers, you want to take a picture, a hug, you guys want to go out to dinner. You want to spend time with your stepson, who's closer to you than your what? Your actual sons that have the same eyes as you. They look the same, sit the same, have the same face as you. He's closer to you, right? And then a brother who knows you, he went to the graduation, who's a sheikh, and he found out, he says, Ya akhi, you know your wife and that boy, they can't take a picture together. He can't be in the house, he can't spend the night there and see your wife in her pajamas, in her nightgown. He can't be around your daughters because technically that boy is not what? He's not related to you. There's no mahram connection. So what will be the solution? Your wife is going to be heartbroken now. You can never talk to Adam again. You can never see him again. You can never sit down and have breakfast with him again. You can never give him a hug again. He's a big, grown, strong man. She can never put her hand in his hand again. How painful would that be for a woman that can never touch her son again? Painful or not? Everybody with me or not? How, when you see your mother, what does she do? She gives you a hug, strong. I remember when you were what? Little tiny boy. Now look at you, right? Look at your hands. Your mother, she checks your hands. Are your fingers clean, son? Do you have on lotion? Are you ashy? Right? Your mother, she may what? Right? This is motherly love. You come back from college, the first thing she says, well, you need to eat more. You're skinny. What are they feeding you? She criticizes your wife. She says your wife isn't what? She's not feeding you. A woman, she takes pride. So this woman who was with this boy for all these years, she taught him, she raised him, she gave him everything. Now this scholar tells you at the graduation, it's haram. Painful or not? Painful or not? No other question. And it's also going to be painful for him. So the only solution will be to what? Your wife got pregnant again, or she took some pills, whatever the case may be. I'll just say she got pregnant. Keep it simple. All right? She's having a baby again. She pumped the milk. She gave the milk to what? Adam. Adam said what? Bismillah. He drunk the milk, right? 5 times. Adam is now at what to your wife? No one answered but you. He's not a what? He's not a mahram to your wife. Based off of that view. Everybody clear on this? Allah surely knows best. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.